So it was a long lifespan extension. And what that told me is that probably you don't want to be taking a supplement every day. You can take it either every other day or give your body a rest. And I do the same with my meals. I rest during the day and then I give a nutritious dinner to my body and then give it a rest. Same with exercise. And then I try to time it because there are times when I'm taking the drug metformin, which mimics low energy. For those of you who don't know, metformin is a drug given to type 2 diabetics to bring down their blood sugar levels. But it's been found that looking at tens of thousands of veterans and others, that those type 2 diabetics live longer than people that don't even get type 2 diabetes. So it's a longevity drug. Right now you have to get it from your doctor in the US. In most other countries, you can just get it over the counter. And you're protected, it looks like, based on epidemiological data, cancer, heart disease, frailty, what else? Dementia. So I take metformin.
In addition, you take metformin and you're fasting each day. So when do you take it relative to the fasting?
Yeah, I always take metformin in the morning, along with the resveratrol, because for a number of reasons, but mainly because my body responds better. And I've been measuring my body for 12, 13 years. But here's the thing, if I'm going to exercise that day, I will skip the metformin. And a lot of people who do pay attention to this kind of thing think that they should stop taking metformin because they're never going to get muscle or it's going to affect their ability to build up muscle. But that's not true. What metformin does to you, it actually just reduces your ability to have stamina because it's inhibiting your body's ability to make energy. And so what happens is when you're on metformin, you do fewer reps. But guess what? Those muscles that you do build up on metformin have the same strength and have much lower inflammation and other markers of aging. You just won't have that extra 5% size of muscles. So if you want large muscles, don't take metformin and you'll be fine during your exercise. But for me, I'm not trying to get giant. I want strong muscles and I want to live longer and healthier. So I just try to time it so that I get the most reps out of my exercise regime. But sometimes in scientific literature, it's worth bringing this up. If there's a 5% difference in a graph, then either the press release or some reporter will say, oh my goodness, big difference, 5%, can't take metformin during exercise. That's the headline. And then you go in and it's barely significant and the graph is distorted because they've changed the axes to make it look bigger. And now it's become a myth that metformin greatly inhibits your ability to exercise, which is not true.
Interesting.
But in an abundance of caution, I skip my metformin on days I'm going to exercise. And not only that, I'm one of the 20% of people that has a stomach sensitivity to it. So if I'm not feeling great that day, I don't take it either.
You mentioned metformin is available only by prescription from a doctor, at least in the US. Berberine is this substance that comes from tree bark, who I also learned about many years ago from Ori. He said, if ever I'm going to overeat like a Thanksgiving meal or something, I take berberine. Those were his words. And I tried it. And what's remarkable about berberine is that you can eat enormous quantities of food and not feel as if you've eaten enormous quantities of food. I'm not necessarily recommending people do this. But what I noticed was if I took berberine, which my understanding is it works very similarly to metformin, works on the AMPK pathway and the mTOR pathway, et cetera, that if I didn't ingest food, in particular carbohydrates, I would feel a little dizzy and kind of get a headache, like almost hypoglycemic. What are your thoughts on berberine as an alternative to metformin? And are there any cautionary notes? Obviously people should talk to their doctor before adding or subtracting anything from their life, including breath work or anything that comes up. But with all that set aside, what are your thoughts about berberine and timing of low blood sugar and these sorts of things?
Right. Well, before I had access to metformin, I was taking berberine. It's often known as the poor man's metformin. So that
he just called me poor.
Women can take it too. So the thing with berberine, and we've studied it in my lab, it is effective at boosting energetics in the body, just like AMPK and metformin does. And we've actually given it to rats and mice and seen that they are very healthy, especially on a high-fat diet. So I think it's likely to be good. There are some human studies that exist, clinical trials showing that it increases insulin sensitivity. You have to take high doses.
Which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
I think when people hear insulin sensitivity, sometimes people think, oh, well, that's bad, right? No, but you want your cells to be insulin sensitive. You don't want a lot of blood sugar floating around that can't be sequestered into cells.
Exactly. So this is anti-type 2 diabetes. And so this berberine does have wonderful effects on the metabolism of animals, and in some clinical trials on dozens of people it's been tested. Now there's one cautionary tale which just came up. Matt Kaberlein's lab published that berberine reduced the lifespan of worms. But I'm not sure worms trump human clinical trials at this point. So I would say...
Not in my opinion.
I wouldn't
but no disrespect to my C. elegans colleagues, or rather my colleagues that work on C. elegans.
Yeah. Well, what I like to do is to give all the information. People can decide what they want. But I would say, if based on the worm data, I wouldn't panic just yet. I think berberine has been shown to be really safe in humans.